Stand at the foot of the steps of the hall there and serve as my ritual assistants. Let Old Monkey summon the dragon here to make rain." 8 rules, and Sha Monk obeyed. When the 3 of them all stood at the foot of the steps of the hall, the prefect burned incense and worshipped, while Tripitaka sat and recited a sutra. As Pilgrim recited a magic spell, immediately a dark cloud arose from the east and gradually drifted down to the courtyard in front of the hall. It was actually Ao Guang, the old dragon king of the Eastern Ocean. After the cloud had been retrieved, Ao Guang took on human form and walked forward to bow and salute Pilgrim, saying, "In what capacity may this humble dragon serve the great sage who has summoned me?" "Please rise," said Pilgrim. "I've troubled you to come from a great distance only for one purpose, and that is to ask you why you have not provided rain to relieve a drought of several years here at the prefecture of Phoenix Immortal." "Let me humbly inform the great sage," said the old dragon. "Though I may be able to make rain, I am subject to the will of heaven. If heaven above has not authorized me, how could I dare come here to make rain?" Pilgrim said, "Because I passed through this region and saw how the people suffered from such a prolonged drought, I asked you especially to come and bring relief. Why are you making excuses?" "Would I dare do that?" said the Dragon King. "When the great sage recited his magic spell, I would never dare not show up. But I have not been authorized by heaven in the first place, and, second, I have not brought along the divine warriors in charge of making rain. How could I start anything? If the great sage indeed has such eleemosynary intentions, allow this little dragon to return to the sea and summon his troops. Meanwhile, let the great sage make a memorial at the Celestial Palace, and ask for an imperial decree, authorizing the descent of rain. Request the aquatic officials to let loose the dragons, and then I'll be able to make rain according to the amount specified by the decree." As Pilgrim could not quite controvert this proper argument that the old dragon offered, he had to let him return to the sea. He himself then jumped out of the star-treading pattern to give the Tang monk a thorough account of what had happened. "In that case," said the Tang monk, "you may go and do your duty, but you must not utter even a word of falsehood." Pilgrim at once gave this injunction to 8 rules and Sha Monk. "Guard the master, for I'm going up to the Celestial Palace. Dear great sage." He said he was leaving and at once vanished from sight. Quaking with fear, the prefect asked, "Where has Venerable Father Sen gone to?" "He mounted the clouds to ascend to heaven," said 8 rules, chuckling. The prefect became more respectful than ever. An order was hurriedly dispatched to the broad boulevards and narrow alleys, asking all the people, whether they be nobles or plebeians, civilian or military, to set up a placard for the Dragon King in front of each household. Clean water jars with willow twigs stuck inside were to be placed by the doors, and incense was to be burned so that all could worship heaven. Here we shall leave them for the moment. We tell you instead about Pilgrim, who reached the West Heaven Gate with a single cloud somersault. The Devaraja Dh Tara Ra led a group of celestial soldiers in Vira to greet him with the question, "Great sage, have you completed the enterprise of scripture seeking? The end can't be too far off," replied Pilgrim. "We have reached the border of the Kingdom of India, where there is an outer prefecture by the name of Phoenix Immortal. That place has not had rain for 3 years, and the people are in terrible straits. Old Monkey wanted to pray for rain to bring relief, but when I summoned the Dragon King there, he claimed that he dared not do it on his own authority. I have come here, therefore, to request a decree from the Jade Emperor. I am quite sure that rain is forbidden at that particular place," said the Devaraja. "For I have heard that the prefect, because of some mischief, has offended heaven and earth. As a punishment, the Jade Emperor established a rice mountain, a noodle mountain, and a huge square lock of gold. Until these 3 things are overturned, there will be no rain for the region." Not knowing, however, what the Devaraja was speaking of, Pilgrim insisted on an audience with the Jade Emperor. The Devaraja dared not bar his way, and he was permitted to go inside till he reached the Hall of Perfect Light. He was then met by the 4 celestial masters, who asked, "What is the great sage doing here, while escorting the Tang monk?" Said Pilgrim, "I arrived at the border of the Kingdom of India. Because of a severe drought at the prefecture of Phoenix Immortal, the prefect sought magicians to make rain. When Old Monkey managed to summon the Dragon King and ask him to make rain, he said that he dared not do it without the explicit decree of the Jade Emperor. Hence, I've come to request a decree to relieve the people's suffering. But it should not rain at that region," said the Celestial Masters. With a laugh, Pilgrim said, "Whether it should or not, please announce my presence and see whether Old Monkey can win this favor." The Immortal Ga said, "As the proverb has it, a fly wraps around a net, what a large countenance." "Stop this babbling," said Xu Jingyang. "Let's take him inside." Thereupon Qiu Hongzhi, Zhang Daoling, Ge, and Xu, these 4 realized immortals, led the visitor into the Hall of Divine Mists to memorialize, saying, "Your Majesty, we have here Sun Wukong, who is passing through the Phoenix Immortal Prefecture of the Kingdom of India. Wishing rain for the people, he has come especially to seek your decree. On the 25th day of the 12th month 3 years ago," said the Jade Emperor, "we were out on tour to inspect the myriad heavens and float through the 3 realms. When we arrived at that particular region, we had occasion to witness that Shengguan right in the midst of his wickedness. He pushed over the sacrificial megare, intended for offering to heaven, and fed it to dogs instead. Furthermore, he even made obscene utterances and committed the sin of blasphemy. For this reason, we established 3 things in the fragrance draping hall, to which all of you should lead Sun Wukong to see. If these things have been overturned, we shall grant him a decree. If not, he should be told to mind his own business." The 4 celestial masters at once led Pilgrim to the hall to look around. There they came upon a mountain of rice, about 100 feet tall, and a mountain of noodles, about 200 feet in height. At the side of the rice mountain was a chicken no larger than a human fist, which was pecking at the rice at a rather irregular pace, now speeding up, now slowing down. Over at the noodle mountain was a golden-haired puppy, a Peking pug, which, with an occasional flick of his tongue, was lapping up some of the noodles. On the left side of the hall, moreover, there was an iron rack with a large square lock, at least 15 inches in length, hanging from it. Beneath the key of the lock, no thicker than a human finger, was a small lamp, its tiny flame barely touching the key. Not knowing what to make of the sight, Pilgrim turned to ask the Celestial Masters, "What does this mean?" One of them replied, "Because that fellow has offended heaven, the Jade Emperor established these 3 things. Not until the chicken has finished pecking the rice, the dog has lapped up all the noodles, and the lamp has burned through the key of the lock, will there be rain in that region." When he heard these words, Pilgrim was so taken aback that he paled with fright. Not daring to present another memorial to the Emperor, he walked out of the hall, visibly embarrassed. "The great sage need not be overly perplexed," said one of the preceptors. "This affair can only be resolved by virtue, for if there is a single thought of kindness and mercy to stir up heaven above, the rice and noodle mountains will topple immediately, and the lock key too will snap at once. You must go and persuade that prefect to do good, and blessing will be on its way." Pilgrim agreed, not taking leave of the Jade Emperor at Divine Mists. He went straightway below to answer a mortal man. In a moment he arrived at the West Heaven Gate, where he saw Devaraja Dh Tara, Ra again. "Did you succeed in getting a decree?" asked the Devaraja. Having given an account of the matter of the Rice Mountain, the Noodle Mountain, and the Golden Lock, Pilgrim said, "He did refuse to grant me a decree, as you told me he would. But when the Celestial Masters sent me off just now, they also instructed me to persuade that fellow to return to virtue, and blessing would come to him as before." Thus they parted, and Pilgrim descended on a cloud to the region below. When he arrived, the prefect, Tripitaka, 8 rules, Shamunk, and all the officials, great and small, crowded around him to question him about his journey. Pilgrim singled out the prefect and bellowed at him, Because you offended heaven and earth 3 years ago, on the 25th day of the 12th month, you brought a great ordeal on your people, for heaven now refuses to grant you rain." These words so astonished the prefect that he fell prostrate on the ground, asking, "How did the master learn of the incident 3 years ago?" "How could you?" said Pilgrim. "Push down sacrificial megare, intended for offering to heaven, and feed it to dogs. You'd better give us an honest account." Not daring to conceal anything, the prefect said, "On the 25th day of the 12th month 3 years ago, we indeed offered sacrificial megare to heaven in our residence. Because of my wife's ill behavior, she taunted me, in fact, with some nasty words. I was momentarily blinded by anger and pushed down the votive table, spilling all the vegetarian food. At that point, I did in fact get the dogs to come and eat it up.